Hey guys, what is up? It is Annelies. Now, if you are from the 21st century, you probably know what Lyft and Uber are. Now, you might be watching this video from the 22nd century, in that case, welcome from the future. But if you are from any century and you do not know what Lyft or Uber are, let me enlighten you. It's pretty much a ride-sharing app service, like your modern-day taxi. Think of it that way. So there's an app that you can download onto your mobile device, such as an iPhone or an Android device, and you have an app that says, "Hi, I am here. I would like to request a ride to go to here," and then a real-life person gets that notification on their side and then says, "I'm gonna go pick this person up," and takes their real-life personal car to pick you up and then brings you to a destination, and then you pay for it using a credit card or Apple Pay or Samsung Pay or PayPal or whatever is on your device. And it's pretty rad, especially for folks who don't have cars or if you're traveling places or whatnot. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is I wanted to share with you guys today my experience as not only a rider on these services, but a driver. So you may not have known that I have been driving for these services for almost 2 years now. I've been registered for Lyft for a little over a year and a half, and then I've been registered for Uber for about 8 months. So I'm making this video because I've been talking to a lot of people recently about my preferences as a driver, mainly, on Lyft versus Uber. Now, when I was looking to become a driver on one of these services, I went searching for videos such as this. Somebody who's done both, giving their real-life personal experience on not just one platform versus the other, but the whole idea of being a driver for these services, and I didn't really find a lot of that. I found the, my crazy Lyft and Uber story, or abducted by my Uber driver, or crazy rider experience. Like, I found videos like that, but I never found anything with like a serious person talking and giving their opinions and stuff. So I thought that's what I would bring to you guys today. So if you are a future driver out there, if you're a rider who just wants to know what's going on in the mind of the person sitting in the driver's seat, or if you are a new rider who just kind of wants to get a little bit of perspective on the whole system, I think this video is going to be perfect for you. So if you are not new to my channel, you know how good I am at derailing myself. So what I've done, it's my favorite little thing to do, is I've made a bullet point list on my iPad here. And what this is helpful for is keeping me on track, as well as I can kind of tell you what I'm going to talk about right now in this video. So some things I'm going to cover in this video. Right up front is my preference as a driver and a rider, how to get started, ride consistency, making money, types of riders, weird experiences, and just an overall overview of my opinion of the services and just the concept of being a driver. Now, like I said, right up front, I'm gonna get this out of the way because some people might have just come here for the answer to the question, what is my preferred service when it comes to being a rider and a driver? And I'm gonna say right now, wholeheartedly, Lyft has my money in any of that sort. I choose Lyft as a rider and I choose Lyft as a driver. Now, there are a few reasons to that I'll kind of get into throughout this video. I just like Lyft overall as a whole a ton better than Uber. When it comes to the company, when it comes to my experiences as a rider, my experiences as a driver, the pay that you make, the app experience, the customer service support, everything on the Lyft end I've had a really positive experience with. However, my only negative experiences, most of them, I don't think I've ever really had a bad experience with Lyft. 90% of my bad experience that I've had on these ride-sharing platforms have been with Uber, and that's why they are definitely second on my bottom of my list. There's only 2 of them. There's probably more out there. I'm always going to go to Lyft when I need one of those 2 things. Now, a disclaimer I'm going to throw at the very beginning of this video is as of about 2 weeks ago, I stopped driving for Uber. Now, if you want to know why, I'm going to explain that a little bit further. Now, when it comes to getting started as a driver on one of these platforms, it's actually pretty simple. Now, I'm from Sacramento, California, and in my city, there is no interview process. It's just submitting an application, letting that background check go through. They will do a background check on you. You have to submit your driver's license, proof of insurance, all that fun stuff. Once your application gets approved or goes through or whatnot, then your car has to go through a physical inspection. At Lyft, they do it at this local place called Pep Boys, which is like a chain of auto mechanics stores, kind of like an AutoZone, except bigger, where they do actual repairs. I don't know if everybody has Pep Boys. And then Uber, in my city, what they do is they have an actual office where you go in and they just like scan in your driver's license and then check your car physically at their location with their trained mechanic dude, whatever you want to call it. So the process is fairly simple. With Lyft, your car needs to be a 2004 or newer, and with Uber, your car needs to be a 2008. So if you have an older car, Lyft is probably going to be your first option. It doesn't cost anything to get started. It's pretty simple, and if you want to get started on either Lyft or Uber, sure by the end of this video if you kind of made your decision on what one you want to choose, or you want to sign up for both. There are sign up bonuses, and I have a promo code in the description of this video, so if you are looking for a sign up bonus, I've got that. It's like do a certain amount of rides in your first X amount of days and you make this extra amount of money. And then what's also cool is it helps me out too if you do make that bonus. So check out the description for those startup bonus codes and all that fun stuff. Now when it comes to being a driver in general, if you are looking to do driving as a form of making money, here are some things I'd like to warn you with. At least in my area, now like I said, I'm from Sacramento, this is a different process in other places. So like I said, in Sacramento, there's no interview process. However, I traveled to Denver earlier this year and I was talking to some of my Lyft riders there, and what they were telling me is, like I said, I only drove Lyft while I was in Denver. What my Lyft drivers were telling me is that they have an interview process in Denver because it's something that one guy said that so many people are trying to sign up that it's getting like impacted and there's more drivers than there are riders kind of business. But then they also do an interview process just so you don't have any like crazy people, which is cool. And that's why they do the background check in Sacramento and you have to like meet with them and stuff. It's still a little bit of a different process, obviously, wherever you go. So the application process, the startup process in my town is probably going to be different than your town, but at least a little bit similar when it comes to the application and stuff. Now, if you're somebody who's looking to be a driver, I have a little bit of perspective from you when it comes to making money from these platforms. Something to consider is that it's not consistent. So there is no guarantee that you're going to make X amount of dollars a month or X amount of dollars a day or X amount of dollars a week. Now, Lyft has more opportunities in having that more guaranteed money flow coming in. I haven't seen anything like that with Uber yet through my 8 months of being signed up for them. At various points of me being signed up for Lyft, they've had these things where they called it guaranteed hourly wages. So what that means is if you are signed up for these guaranteed hourly wages, it's something that you have to like opt into, but like that's about it. That's all you had to do. Is that one of them was like from the hours of 7 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday on this one particular week. So when you're online during these guaranteed hourly rates on Lyft, like let's say it was from like 7 to 10 or whatever, what that means is as long as you're online that whole time, like during one full hour, whatever you don't make, they'll supplement to get you to that point, which is a really cool thing. They don't do it all the time. They haven't done it in a while. When it comes to these rides, you don't always know that people are going to need rides. So for instance, in San Francisco, where I have driven just one day so far, but it's something I want to go back and do more, is I went there, I got there at like 9 a.m. It was a Sunday, but I got there about 9 a.m. and I had rides back to back with no pauses from 9 to 2. So that compared to a Saturday morning in Sacramento isn't always like, it's not going to be like that. For crying out loud, I think it was last Saturday, I drove around like the same time, or a couple of Saturdays ago, I drove around the same time. And when I was in San Francisco, it wasn't a special holiday or anything, but San Francisco is just a touristy city. There's the airports there and all that fun stuff. I had the same hours in Sacramento, but I wasn't getting that back to back to back ride pickup. So it's kind of hard if you don't live in a place like New York or San Francisco, Chicago, Austin, Seattle, whatever. You might not be getting this heavy flow of traffic of tourists and locals, especially in San Francisco. It's cheaper to not have a car than it is to pay for, parking, and then the terrible fighting of parking, and it's just like nastiness. You don't even want to deal with that over there. So if you're looking at being a driver as a consistent job, just remember that there's no guarantee that you're gonna get these rides. And I don't believe there's any difference in any other cities, but it's just a matter of the demand is what is going to be fulfilling your pay, if that makes any sense. If there's nobody out there, you don't have any work to do, you're not getting paid to just drive around. You're not getting an hourly pay. And that's something that Lyft and Uber always like advertise, and they go, make up to 15 or make more than $15 an hour on average. But I've had days where I've driven for 2 hours and not had a single ride. So just keeping that perspective, I don't want anybody to go, oh yeah, this is an easy way to make money and this is a quick and easy way and like I can just pick up some extra cash whenever I want. No, not always. I have a friend who uses his driving for Uber as a way to make extra cash to pay some of his bills off, and I remember him posting on Facebook like, I need to make this money, so I'm gonna be out as late as I need to for whatever he needed to do, and he was out till like 2-3 a.m. when some nights he'd only be out till like 11 p.m. So it's just not consistent. Keep that in mind. Now when it comes to making money, the rates on each of these ride services are are the same. Okay, you were probably expecting me to say that they were different, and just to let you know, I did originally say that, but I uploaded this video and some people watched it and I had a person tell me how I was incorrect in that statement, and she enlightened me with knowledge, and now I'm sharing that knowledge with you. Thank you, Tanya, for your assistance with this video. It is greatly appreciated. So here's the thing. The rates with Lyft and Uber, they are the same, which makes sense because they want to stay competitive. Okay, so here are the rates when it comes to Lyft and Uber. You have your cost per mile, which is 92 cents, your cost per minute, which is 14 cents, your base fare, which is $1.15, which makes your minimum fare cost $2.90. Add that onto your $2.30 service fee, and your minimum ride cost is going to be $5.20 as a passenger. Now that $2.30 service fee goes 100% to Uber and Lyft. Driver gets none of that. That is normally why people don't tip, because they think the full amount of their ride, or maybe not the full amount of their ride, but a majority of their ride cost is going to the driver, and that is not true. So a way to calculate your profit as a driver, this is what you're looking at. So let's say we'll use that minimum ride of $5.20. Now you're gonna minus $2.30, because that's the service fee, so you're left with that $2.90. Then what you're gonna do is you're gonna minus 25%, which leaves you about $2.17. So we'll say about $2.17 is your profit from a minimum ride as a driver. That is why tipping is always so appreciated, because we don't make as much as you might hope, and some of us are paying our bills with that, or some of us are putting food on the table or making sure there's a roof over our head with our money we make from Lyft. So every tip is always really appreciated. There is also a $2 fee that the rider gets charged if you're coming from an airport. That's another thing I did not know. If you're in the Sacramento, San Francisco, or Oakland area, expect it to be about $2 or more. So pretty much what it comes down to when you're a driver is you benefit from rides that it's smooth sailing, there's no traffic, they're long, or you have back-to-back rides. Sitting in traffic does you no good because you're not really making a lot of money. It's adding the mileage and the minutes together is what really helps you out. And if you're just sitting there running minutes and not moving a lot, that's where you're gonna be in trouble. Okay, now I'm gonna send it back to past Annelies. So one thing that's nice about these ride-sharing services when it comes to making money is that there are peak times and there's ways to kind of go to the money compared to if, let's say, you're working in, just an example, like a department store. You can't, oh, I'm gonna go work in the sock department today because I know a whole bunch of people need socks for that big sock competition that's happening, and it's gonna be really busy in the sock department and I'm gonna make more money. There's nothing really like that. But with Lyft and Uber, they do these things, I don't know what it's called on Uber, but it's called power zones or like prime time on Lyft. So depending on what time of day it is, there's certain prime time hours where its percentage is higher on the base fares and all that fun stuff. So the ride is gonna make you more money just because of it's a busy time. There's a lot of people requesting rides, as well as there's certain prime times. So like today, the day I'm recording this video, the power zone was 10% more every ride after 8 p.m. It started at 8 p.m. and it was going to like 10 p.m. or something like that. And it's a Saturday today. And that just happens at different times. It's not always an 8 p.m. on a Saturday, but sometimes it happens like that. Or there's also times where, like today, there was a Foo Fighters concert being held downtown. And I didn't know this. And normally Lyft actually lets you know. I've never had Uber let me know when like an event is going on in my area. Something that's my example of going to the sock area to make more money on socks. Like I can go, oh, there's the farmer's market downtown. I can go drive in that area and I might get a lot more rides. Or there's a baseball game, or there's a concert, or there's a XYZ thing that I know is going to be very popular. I should go there. You know, tonight, almost every person I drove tonight was going to that Foo Fighters concert. And even though I wasn't, like, maybe it wasn't people picking me up from that area, but everybody was taking me back to that area, then I was getting rides from that. So do you see how it's kind of nice? The contrast of saying it's not guaranteed money, but when you know something's going on, you can make more money. And then it doesn't really always even itself out, but it can. So there's that weird variable. It's still that unreliability, like, I don't know, you know, it's weird. It's weird. It's really convenient because today I was able to drive this evening and I made some extra money that I didn't have because my bank account was in $1. I had $1 in my bank account, so like that was great. So I was able to make money I didn't have. But you know, some days I also need money and I drive and then I don't make any money and I just wasted gas driving around. It's a catch-22. I don't know what to tell you. Now, another thing that's really cool about driving for these services is you make your own hours. There is no, now I'm gonna speak to this in Sacramento because I cannot say with 100% certainty that's how it works anywhere else. I'm 90% certain that's how it works everywhere else in the US. But with Uber and Lyft, there is no guaranteed hours you have to turn in. You don't have to do a certain amount of hours. You cannot drive for a month, or you can drive every day, 8 hours a day. You know, like it's kind of up to you. There's a go online button on each of them, and when you go online, that's like clocking in. Think of it that way. Your app is live and you can start accepting rides. But as soon as you want to be done, you hit go offline and you're done. So today I drove for 3 hours. I went online and then I had to stop and go to the bathroom, so I went offline for about 10 minutes or whatever it may have been, and then I went back online and then I had to get gas, so I went offline, and then when I decided I was done, I just went offline and I'm done, you know? But if I wanted to, I could literally go online on my phone right now. I'm not gonna do it because I could get a ride request and I actually don't want to do that. But same thing with Uber, you just go online whenever you want, on, off. So what's cool about that is for people who are college students, maybe people who have weird schedules. I'm also an actor, so I can have something that's like, oh, I had a rehearsal that was canceled, or I got out of a show earlier than I expected, or whatever it may be. This can fill in those times. So it's very flexible. So that's what I personally like about Lyft and Uber. I'm gonna say Lyft and Uber, but like I use Lyft, is this platform, this ride sharing platform, is that I can fit this into my schedule however crazy it is. And then what's also nice is maybe there's something that I need to add into my schedule. I can take Lyft out because I'm not required to work those hours. So another thing I wanted to go over was kind of like my pros and cons list. Not really pros and cons list, but my just kind of bullet point list on each of the apps and what I like about them / don't like about them. So with Lyft, I personally have a better driver experience. And when I say a better driver experience, it kind of involves the app that you're using. So on Lyft and on Uber, there's a separate Uber driver or Lyft driver app. I personally like the platform of the Lyft driver app a lot more. To me, it's a lot more clear and concise about not only your earnings, but your picking up people. The map is very clear. It's not cumbersome. There's not a lot going on. If I get a ride request, let's say I have Mark and he's on Main Street, it will pop up and it'll say, Mark needs a ride. You have 10 seconds to tap on the screen. All you have to do is tap literally anywhere on the screen and accept it, and then it will auto navigate to Mark's destination. It'll tell me, you know, how far away he is. So Mark is 5 minutes away. He has a 4.8 star rider rating, and do you want to accept it? And you tap to accept it, switches to the maps, and then boom, you're on your way. My experience as a rider, I also like Lyft better just because the app just, I don't know, it looks nicer. Like I just get anxious when I'm on the Uber one because I'm like, am I requesting the right type of ride? Like the map, it just, I don't know. It's also very dark on the Uber one, and maybe it just feels more robotic and like cold to me, and the Lyft one just seems cleaner and easier to use. So another thing, like I already mentioned, better pay, at least in my area, so it seems. I still have concrete evidence on that. It's kind of complicated, which is one thing that's a little bit frustrating, is not knowing, like having an easy, like, boom, here's how much money you're making, this is how it's being divvied up, this is why, this is the parts to it, whatever. I want to maybe contact the customer support and get that information, and if I do, I will leave it in the description of this video, because as of right now, I don't have any of that stuff. So if you're watching this, check the description. If I've updated it, it'll be down there. Now, going back to driver experience, I've had a better driver experience with Lyft than I have with Uber. And when I say driver experience, not just the app, but also the riders that I get in my car. Tonight was, everybody I had was so freaking nice. Everybody, like, a lot of people tipped me, like, had great conversations. This one couple wanted me to take them to a Carl's Jr. on the way to the show, and they bought me a soda. Like, they offered to buy me dinner. And I was like, no, like, this is really not a big deal. They're like, are you sure? And I was like, well, I mean, if you're offering ordering, I'd really appreciate a soda. Like, that'd be nice. And they're like, get her a large. And like, they're super sweet. So like, I've had a lot of nice experiences and like nice people, and not just people tipping me, which is always great. Don't get me wrong, it helps out so much, but also just nice conversations. Or even if they don't want to talk, it's not like I'm tense and I feel like I feel uncomfortable. I don't know. It's always just been very chill with Lyft. With Uber, the riders that I've had, and one ride in particular, which is what made me stop driving Uber among the other many things that they have going on right now, but then also the riders that I've gotten have either been very cold, very coarse, or absolutely crazy. And so, not to get too much into it, but my craziest Uber story happened 2 weeks ago when I picked up a couple who seemed pretty normal. They had a dog with them. That's something, one, I love dogs, so I saw the dog and I was like, oh yes, a dog, he's so cute. But with Lyft and Uber, they require you can't say no to service animals. So even if you hate dogs or you're allergic to them, you cannot say no because of the service animal, or you can get in trouble. So I open up the door and the first thing the guy says is, she's a service animal, she's a service animal. She's not wearing a coat, but like, I also don't give a shit because I love dogs. So I was like, I don't care, get in my car please with your cute puppy, let's go. And so they get in and the lady brings up some story she heard about Uber, and then it turns so quickly into this, it didn't start as a rant, but they expressed some very racist thoughts and then proceeded to rant on them, and then also project their very harsh religious beliefs, and then telling me about how the rapture is coming and the world is ending and it's already planned, and if you read the Bible you can see the day that we're all gonna die, and racism, religion, and it was something that they were speaking so harshly to me. And I have one of those like middle dividers in between my two front seats, like the middle console, and the guy had his hand on it and he was like leaning forward talking to me, and it's something that how harshly they were speaking, and they were not raising their voice or anything, but because of the way that they were talking, I then felt unsafe because I was worried that if I said anything other than yes and amen, my life would be at risk. I didn't know if these people had a knife or a gun on them. I didn't know if he'd be willing to choke me out from the back seat if I said, hey, don't be a racist asshole. You know, who knows what would have happened. And so I just kind of was like, not agreeing with them, just trying to be as neutral as possible to not perpetuate their hate, but also not get, you know, in some situations you just have to do what you can until you get out of the situation. And that's pretty much what happened with them. I reported them and I was just like, hey, this is not good. And then as soon as he got out of the car, he goes, I shouldn't have said any of that. 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 I should have just kept my mouth shut. And then like shut the door and like was like laughing. It seemed like there were a few marbles missing. It was like this weird, it was really weird. But just the whole fact that I felt really unsafe for this like 10-15 minute ride was not cool. And yeah, and that's like the craziest experience I've ever had with either of these ride sharing platforms. Luckily nobody's thrown up in my car, knock on wood, that never happens, pray to the Lord Jesus. And otherwise I've just had like riders that are very like, oh, make this turn, make this turn, make this turn, where are you going? I'm just following the directions kind of thing. Like, I don't know. And as a rider, I've also had very like, the only way I can explain it is coarse, like cold like drivers as a rider, and I just haven't felt comfortable. And something that I would say on Lyft versus Uber is that Lyft intentionally makes an effort to cultivate a warm and comforting experience for not only the driver but the rider, and to make sure people are friendly and it's a good environment and good people and all that stuff. And I couldn't tell you if Uber has made motions towards any of those things because I literally don't know. I haven't heard anything. Lyft at least sends emails out. Uber sends things about, hey, we're not good right now. 180 days of making better promises. Or how can we improve? But they're never like implementing those things. And I get that it takes time to get yourself out of it like a rut. But then update us on your progress. I don't know. Now I'm going into a little tangent. Let's move on. One thing that I do want to say that I like a lot better about Uber compared to Lyft is that Uber has their own navigation within the app. So once you pick somebody up, it auto-navigates, you never leave the app, it's right there. When you are there, you say you're there, and then you're still in the same program. It's really nice. With Lyft, you have to use a third-party navigation app. Now, up until like in the middle or early this year, you were able to use Apple Maps. They took away that feature in the middle of the year, and since then I've never had more complaints that, oh hey, you're going the long way, or oh, this is taking you a weird way, or things that are just literally wrong. I had a guy who was trying to go from the university to a McDonald's that's around the corner, and then it tried to take me to this city that's like 30 minutes away to a children's hospital. And I don't know why. I've never been to this children's hospital. There's no reason why Google Maps would have pulled that up. The maps options on Lyft are now Google Maps or Waze. I hate it. The reason why I do use Google Maps, I've tried Waze. I don't like the platform. I think it's very cumbersome. I think there's just like a lot going on that doesn't need to be there, and it doesn't make sense to me. I also hate the voice of the navigation lady or guy or whatever. It's terrible. I hate it. Google Maps, I've never had more inconsistencies as well as not being able to understand a map system than I have with Google Maps. And it's so funny because most people that I talk to don't like Apple Maps, or they prefer Google Maps or whatever it may be, and I don't like Google Maps. So what I have done sometimes is copied and pasted the address from Lyft and put it into Apple Maps and then gone about that way. But what is nice about having it paired to Google Maps through Lyft is once you accept the ride and you pick up the person, it auto switches, puts in the navigation, and just starts it. So it's a lot more hands-free that way. That's why I tend to not copy and paste the address into Apple and then just let it do its thing, unless if it goes wrong. Then I will do that manual copy and paste it into Apple and go my guaranteed route, you know? So one last thing I wanted to talk about before I kind of just go into an overview and wrap this video up is like types of riders to expect to get for future drivers, whether you're on Uber or Lyft, is prepare to have people who want to talk a whole bunch about themselves. Prepare to have people who want to ask you a whole bunch of questions about yourself, which is something I find kind of intriguing. Prepare to have people who do not want to say a word, and prepare to have people who are on the phone, and then it's like awkward because you don't want to play your music too loud, but then you also don't want to sound like you're listening to their phone call. So I would say some of my favorite riders are people who can have a good conversation with you, but you don't feel like you're required to have the conversation. It's just like this natural conversation where neither party feels like they're just filling the silence. It's like a nice conversation, and I had a lot of that tonight. They just kind of got started talking, and it was just very chill, and like both of us were very comfortable. I really honestly do love, don't get me wrong, I love conversations with people. I am a talkative person. I am a extroverted introvert, if you could say that's a thing, but I am a personable person. For crying out loud, I like talking to people on the internet, which might make me an introvert, I don't know. But I'm a talkative person, but some of my favorite rides are the people who just get in and say, hi, how are you? I say, good, how are you? And I'm like, are we going to wherever? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I turn on my music and we don't talk the entire ride. And it's so nice. Oh, it's so nice. Because sometimes you're just not in the mood to talk. Sometimes my voice is going bad. You know, I've had voice problems in the past if you're not new to my channel. And it's just so nice to just, so I can tell you right now, I love the great conversations, but I equally love the beautiful silence. And then the other type of rider that is a little bit, it's always awkward, is people who get in the car who are having a conversation in the backseat, but it's like personal stuff, or people who are having a phone call. So I don't want to like blast my music because it's like I want to tune them out because I don't want to hear their conversation, but at the same time I don't want to be rude if they're like on the phone. So then I turn down my music, but then I'm like listening to half their conversation on accident, and it's like weird, and I'm not the type of person to like drive with my headphones in because I think that's kind of like rude / not safe entirely. I don't know. I'm kind of weird about it. But do you see where the dilemma could come in? I think you'll understand it once you have your first ride like that. It's kind of funny. It's normally like business guys or business gals going to the airport. They've got their suitcase, they've got their pantsuit on, and they've got their phone in their hand or their Bluetooth talking. And it's an interesting experience. So guys, with that being said, I think that kind of wraps up my Uber versus Lyft thoughts from a driver video. I know this is more so talking about like just the driving experience, and I touched a little bit on Lyft and Uber. So by all means, I'm going to open up the doors to you guys. If you have any specific questions about Lyft or Uber that I can answer for you, drop those down in the comment section down below. If I get enough questions, I might just make an entire like Q&A Lyft/Uber, you know, driver video type of business. But I just want to kind of address some general thoughts and concerns that people might have, or just thoughts of mine, because I know it's something that I get a lot of questions about is, you know, how do I like being a driver? I personally like it a lot. I really enjoy being a driver. I like driving. I've always liked driving since I got my license. Like, I was on the road. I enjoyed it. I like meeting new people. You meet some really interesting people. I've had people in my car from Brazil who were tourists. I've had people who, you know, have gone through crazy experiences and told me their life stories, which is really cool. You meet a lot of cool people doing this, but you also have to be aware you're gonna meet a lot of people, and if you don't like people, this might not be the job for you. The fact that it can kind of fit in your schedule wherever, you can take it wherever. You know, I've driven in San Francisco, but I've also almost drove when I was in Disneyland. I just ended up getting a really bad headache, but I still had the opportunity to go, hey, I can turn this on and drive in Disneyland if I wanted to. You get what I'm saying? It's a nice thing that you can kind of take with you. The fact that it fits in my schedule wherever I need it to go is nice, but the fact that it's not guaranteed also kind of sucks. And it's weird, like, catch-22. But I think that's where I'm gonna leave this video for now. Like I said, if I come up with more things that I want to talk about being just a driver on these ride-sharing apps, I might make a part 2 of this video, or if I get requests from people on questions or whatever it may be, I'll try to answer them in the comments, but I might just make a second video about this. So if you have any questions for me directly about my experiences or how I feel about being XYZ or whatever it may be, please let me know. I'd love to answer them, or just some general questions about the ride-sharing apps or whatnot. I'd love to be able to answer them for you. I think a disclaimer I put in here, but I can't remember, is that as of currently, I am no longer driving for Uber, and I will be taking the stickers off my car tomorrow. You need to put these like little emblem stickers when you drive, or else you can get fined. It's like a big deal. But that I just now, you know, kind of glazing over. But I am taking the Uber stickers off my car, and I will be deleting Uber from my phone just because of the fact of all the drama they've had in the news, that crazy couple I had in my car. I'm just not a fan of it, and I don't think my safety/uncomfortability is worth it. I don't know. Uber just hasn't proven that great to me. You know, I don't get a lot of rides from them anyway, so I don't feel like I'm losing much. But that is it for this video, guys. I hope this was informational, informative, enjoyable for any of you who watched, whether you're a future driver, a current rider, or a future rider. I hope this was helpful in any sort of way. So if you guys have any suggestions for videos that you would like to see from me, whether they be tech related, Uber related, and Lyft related, whatever it may be, I always appreciate your suggestions because I like making videos that I like, as well as videos that you like and want to see. My social media links are in the description as always, so feel free to follow me on all that stuff. Subscribe to my channel if you are new. I would greatly appreciate it, and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. But otherwise, guys, that is it for me. Thanks for sticking around, hearing me out, hearing about some of my stories and experiences and thoughts and all that fun stuff. That is it for me. Stay beautiful, have a marvelous day, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!